Hey everyone, you're in the lab. I'm Brianna, and today on the show, I'm not gonna lie, it's stacked. We've got the head writer and creator of Red vs. Blue, and if you don't know what that is, you're gonna find out, so stick around. Today on the lab.
Good to see you. Welcome to the lab. Leo Laporte here. This is the show. You're going to love this show. If you've never seen it before, this is the show where we explain how technology works. We show you simple, easy, fun, and make you a master of the technology in your world, whether it's a computer, the internet, your cell phone, your MP3 player, your home theater. That's what we cover. Digital cameras. Hello, Brianna.
Hello,
how are you?
Leo.
Got some great callers today coming up in just a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun. Red versus Blue. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, you know what? They get like it said over 1 million viewers a week, so not as much as us, but.
Well, hey, what can I say? But they really have created a whole new art form, a whole new medium using video game footage. This is going to be very exciting. I can't wait. You're going to tell us how to manage our personal finances.
Sure am.
We got a great show for you. But first, let's start off with a web workshop. What do you say? I'm going to take a walk over here to say hi to Mark Yuasa. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, Leo.
Welcome to the lab.
Thanks so much.
You are a web designer?
I'm the creative director of Rain City Studios.
Oh, we love Rain City Studios, as you well know.
Yeah, we have lots of Rain City types on your show.
Rain City is a place where people go to get help with web design, but more than that, more about building community, using the web to live your vision, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We focus on communities, and right now we're working with a lot of media publishers.
Okay, great. This is fun. So we have viewers have submitted a website for you.
That's right.
The Peterborough Singers Pop Ensemble.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, you took a look at this. What do you think overall?
It's got some good things going for it. It's got a lot of personality and energy. But what it needs is a bit of tightening
red.
up. Yeah, that's right. It's very black and white and red. A little stark. So we're going to add a little bit more personality to this site.
Okay.
What I want to do is I want to tweak the layout just a little bit, make it a little bit more useful use of the space. So I'm going to change the layout by getting rid of some extra space here. Let me show you in my...
We see this a lot in our web workshops, is that there's a lot of empty space in websites.
So my goal when I'm
you don't want too tight either, though.
Yeah, I just want to make it breathe a little bit more and take advantage of what's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a little bit wider columns here. Here's the sidebar, and I'm going to enlarge it slightly, and where we're really making the gains is over here. We're going to get rid of some of the extraneous space all around here. So basically, we're going to be able to breathe a bit more.
So some of this is just your visual eye saying, aesthetically, I want it to look different. But web design is more than just how something looks. Otherwise, we just paint pictures on the page.
Absolutely.
We have users. They're really little applications. They're interactive. So do you think about that as well when you design a page?
I do. There's actually some technical limitations with this site as well. And it doesn't have to be fancy because it's just a community music group site. But here's a very practical problem. Over here on the left, we have the navigation going on. And believe it or not, this text here for the links is not active. These aren't links at all.
Well, that's very confusing.
So I'm hovering over
Those aren't links, they're just...
No.
The clef is.
Right. And that's a problem because...
People are used to clicking words.
Right. You gotta, can't make the user think. It's gotta be immediate.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's a book on that subject, Don't Make Me Think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe in that philosophy. So we're going to fix the navigation a little bit.
Some of that comes from understanding the traditions of the web almost.
Right.
I mean, it's old enough now. It's, more than 10 years we've been using the internet. It's old enough now that people have kind of expectations.
Yes.
And so you have to kind of know what the expectations of the user are too, don't you?
Absolutely. It's just like getting in a car. If you don't find the things that are set up in the way in generally the area you want to, you got to really think and spend 20 minutes before you get up and driving.
Right.
What you want to do is get on the road right away.
Right.
And that's what we should do.
So the gas pedal should always be on the right.
Exactly.
You can move the steering wheel, but don't move the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Actually,
Precisely.
is this... when the steering wheel's on the right, do they move the gas pedal over to the left? No, it's always on the right, isn't it?
Well, I'm visiting Japan in a month. So
Will you let us
find
know?
out. I'll email you.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the choice of the clefs and so forth, the imagery involved. You think that that's a little limiting?
Yes. I can see why they chose it. Just like any community music group, they probably don't have a huge budget. But the sad thing is that
clip art.
They're using clip art. And clip art is only so good. It's fine for maybe a birthday invitation, but here it's actually too generic.
Right.
It's making the music and the personality kind of fade into the background.
Well, especially since they're repeating it a bunch of times.
Over and over.
It's almost as like this is our logo. I mean, why are you using that? I guess is the question, right?
That sort of imagery is making it look like every other community music group, and I want this site to represent this music group.
Aha.
So I would suggest to these folks to get some good photography of their actual group and performance. That's not hard to do. Maybe they have a photo enthusiast in their group.
It's not expensive compared to say having custom graphics made, which can be pricey. Use photographs. Everybody wants to see people.
Exactly.
We react to faces very positively, right?
Right, and I gotta imagine, I've been in music groups before like this, gotta imagine most of the audience is probably gonna be well-wishers and family members.
They want to see their family members up there on the screen. Yeah. Now, the clef is not a logo. Should they have a logo? How important is that?
Well, I consider this masthead up here to be the logo.
That's kind of their logo, huh?
That is their logo, and it's large and prominent.
Let's see that if we can. So that's them, I guess.
Yeah.
Or something like them.
Yeah.
Or some people, some generic people.
Right. My problem with this is that it's very large and prominent, but it's not well integrated in the site. It just looks like a big white block.
It's just plopped there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to better integrate this throughout the rest of the layout of the site. I don't think the logo itself needs a lot of work.
It's a good logo.
Well, it speaks to them. It's an ensemble, and it seems like
maybe
they're
take that P and make the clef be the P. Or something like that.
There you are. You looking to pick up my job?
No, believe me.
Not a bad idea.
If you've ever seen my websites, you know that your job is completely safe.
All right.
Absolutely safe. Well, we're going to put you to work, and we'll come back at the end of the show and see what you've done. What tools are you going to use to kind of redesign this?
I am going to use primarily Adobe Illustrator. That's my preferred tool to do some layouts, and I'm using a little bit. I'm using this little tool called Sketch here.
Love Sketch.
Yeah, I use that to send comps to my clients.
Because you can annotate just as you did. You put the blue boxes on there.
Exactly. I can send some drafts to people.
Great.
So I'll be using those.
This is going to be fun. We've never done this before. We're going to put Mark to work, and at the end of the show, we'll come back and see what he's done for the Peterborough Singers Pop Ensemble. And by the way, just want to reiterate this. We're not making fun of you. It's, this is just to make it a little bit better.
Yeah,
right?
That's my goal is I want their audience to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming up, Sean's got a shiny for you. What, you got something cool, Sean, for us? You better. I'm expecting something cool. Also ahead, we're going to meet the folks who do red versus blue. Rooster Teeth will join us. And your calls, too, when the lab continues right after this. Hey, welcome back to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. Brianna McIvor.
Close. MacGyver.
MacGyver.
Yep.
I think I'm just going to call you MacGyver.
Okay.
MacGyver's got a call for us.
I sure do. It's Christy, and she is from Sydney, Australia.
Oh, that's great.
And you should check out her picture. It's really cool. I think she said it's from when she was in Bolivia or something.
Cool. Hi, Christy.
Hi, how you going?
Oh, you're bicycling in Bolivia.
Yes, I am.
What fun. Was that a nice trip?
Yeah, it was a fantastic trip. It was a couple of years ago. I'm about to ride down the death road in Bolivia on a bike.
Is it straight downhill for like 20 miles?
It's 60 kilometers, and it goes from 5,000 meters down to 1,200 meters.
Wow. Did you do any pedaling at all in that whole 60 kilometers?
There's around about 5 kilometers uphill, but basically it's all downhill.
Wow. See, that's my dream of bicycling. Straight downhill.
Not when a car falls off the side. Not when a car falls off the road every couple of years, every couple of weeks, though. It's a bit terrifying.
Oh, that would be very scary. Yeah, that would be very scary. Well, what can I do for you today, Christy?
Basically, I'm going traveling soon for around about 18 months. I'll be backpacking around the Middle East and throughout Africa. And my current laptop is a little bit too heavy and a little bit the battery life is not sufficient. So I'm in the looking for a new laptop, and I've been looking at the Sony Vios, and also the MacBook Air has sort of come into contention now, and basically I'm looking for something that is extremely lightweight, that doesn't compromise the screen size, but has extremely good battery, because that's what I found the problem is that the battery life is way too short on my current laptop.
Yeah, and I want to tell you that every manufacturer just lies about battery life. So I generally, cut it in half. Because I don't know where they get these numbers, but I have yet to use a laptop that gets near the battery life that these spec out. However, battery life is getting better. I wouldn't, the Air is beautiful. I mean, I have one right here. I mean, it is absolutely lightweight, thin, and gorgeous. But when you say battery life is paramount, that worries me, because while this has decent battery life, Apple's saying 5 hours. My experience has been more like 3.5 to 4. There is no removable battery. So there's no way to bring a second battery. Really, the best way to get battery life is to have multiple batteries, right? If you're flying to Africa from Australia, you're probably 12, 15 hours on the plane. This isn't going to do it. No laptop's going to do it. However, if you can bring an extra battery, you can at least double the laptop life. You can't do that on the Air. The Air, is a really beautiful notebook. I love it. I mean, it's gorgeous, but it has some severe design compromises. I'm not going to call them flaws, but they're compromises. For instance, no DVD player means no movies. You'd have to transfer them to the hard drive. And it's got a small hard drive. It's only an 80 gig hard drive. This one has a 64 gig hard drive because it's solid state. That's not a lot of storage for movies, data, pictures. Let me ask you, I should ask you up front, what are you going to do, Christy, with the notebook? What are the tasks you're going to put it to?
Basically, I'll be using it for, obviously, surfing the internet, so wireless connectivity is paramount, which they basically all have now. Mm-hmm. Also, updating my website, okay. Emailing, obviously, photo manipulation, video manipulation, as well as the storage device, because I'll have a lot of music because I'll be on the road a lot. Sure you will.
Again, the Air falls way short on that. I think the hard drive should be bigger. Instead of the Air, I opted for the cheaper and I think more powerful, although heavier, MacBook. I put a 250 gig hard drive in it. That's the current maximum. That gives me a lot of storage space. Plus, it has unlike the Air, it has a FireWire port, so I can bring a small external drive and double my storage. The MacBook's heavier, but only by a couple of pounds, and I think in many ways is much more functional. Now, you mentioned the Vio. I love the Vios too. It really comes down to Windows or Mac for you. The Sony Vios are very thin. They're roughly the same price. This is the SZ series, and they start at $2,000. Similar capabilities, except for they have more battery life out of the box, and they have removable batteries, so you can, in fact, bring a second battery. I think that's a really good thing to have. They have more ports, more USB ports, FireWire ports, Sony calls them iLink. They have Express Card, which gives you a lot more functionality. You can have a card reader in there. You're taking photographs. A card reader would be really handy to have in your laptop. It does have, both of them have cameras, which I think is great if you're going to teleconference back to home, if you're going to call your friends in Sydney from the Middle East or Africa. Now you can choose different screen sizes. The SX has a 13-inch screen, exactly the same size as the Air. You said you wanted a big screen. That's going to set you back more. You can get larger screens, but larger screens also mean poorer battery life because the screens take a lot of juice. So a lot of times these very lightweight, long life computers tend to have slower processors and smaller screens. That's how they get more battery life out of them. So really, I think the decision for you, I'll be honest, given what you told me, I would either bite the bullet and get a heavier computer, the MacBook, or I would go with, I think the Vio was a very good choice for you. There's also, Lenovo now has this new X300, which is comparable in thinness and weight to the MacBook Air, but has replaceable batteries and more ports as well, a little more power, a little more juice, bigger hard drives, that kind of thing. But is considerably more expensive. I think they start at $2,500. So you have some interesting choices. Do you have a preference, Mac or Windows?
No, basically with Vista, with Windows, you're basically learning a new learning a new operating system.
You're starting over anyway.
It's so different.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about switching over to Mac. The only reason why I was interested in Mac is that it comes with a lot of prepackaged software as opposed to Windows.
Yeah. No, I like the Mac iLife package, which comes with all Macs. I would say I prefer Macs for home users. For the road, that's a little bit trickier because of these features that I talked about. I'm not going to decide Windows or Mac for you, but I think given what you told me, the MacBook Air, as beautiful and light as it is not a good option for you, just because it doesn't have a big hard drive and a removable battery. It's just that simple. So I would say either look at a MacBook, if you want a bigger screen, the MacBook Pro, the 15-inch. Those are bigger and heavier, but not astoundingly so. The MacBook's 5 pounds instead of 3. And the Sony Vaio is an excellent choice. I mean, I think these are excellent computers. Also look at the Lenovo X300. I think it's a very good, very thin, nice computer. Have a great trip. When are you going?
I'm going to 32 countries in Africa. So,
32 countries? You are a world traveler.
Yes, I am.
Do you do this professionally, or is this a hobby for you?
No, I left traveling a little bit later. I'm in my 30s now and decided that I need a bit of a career change and want to go on a holiday and decide what I want to do. 32
countries. Wow. I'm actually very jealous, Christy. You're going to have an amazing trip. Please call us when you get back, okay? Yeah. Let us know what you chose and how it worked out for you. Give us a real-world review.
Yeah, great.
Thanks, Christy. I really appreciate it. Have a great trip. Safe trip, too. No more bicycling downhill with cars. All right, let's wander over here. Uh-oh. Sean's got a shiny. He's taking pictures of me. Hey, Sean, how are you? What is this?
Great. Well,
this is something Christy should bring on her trip, maybe, huh?
Yeah, this is an Olympus E3. It's their newest
eVolt.
Well, it's actually higher up. It's the more prosumer rather than the consumer level.
Oh, interesting. So they call it the E series instead.
Right. So the E1 was the first one they put out. The E3 is the newest revision of this.
Now, Olympus's claim to fame is that they designed digital from the ground up. They weren't, they really, the lenses and everything are all digital.
Yeah.
Does that make it better?
It's a pro and a con.
Okay.
The pro is that you don't have any of the compromises that you have with other systems where you're trying to match old school lenses with the new sensors.
Right.
So the newer ones from Canon and Nikon,
they're all digital lenses now.
Yes, they're all digital, so that's not as big a selling point. The nice thing about this one is it uses a 4/3 system sensor, that's what they call it, which makes the lenses smaller. It makes the ratio bigger, so you can actually get more magnification in a smaller form.
Now, I have to say, it looks like I got some ink on me there. I have to say I'm not thrilled to hear that, because a smaller sensor, in my mind, means smaller pixels, worse low light sensitivity, not such rich, deep images. I like the Canon and Nikon full frame sensors. So, yeah, they get more out of their lenses by making a smaller sensor, but at what cost? How does it look?
The images are super fantastic.
They are not, or are?
They are. They're very good. So, I mean, they've done that really right. So they're putting a lot of work into the live MOS sensor that they've got in there.
Okay.
And the live MOS is key on this because it introduces something that was actually brought in from the consumer level, which is the ability to actually see what's coming through the lens
unique,
on the back.
Isn't it? Yeah. So you can normally in an SLR, the whole idea of a single lens reflex is you look through the viewfinder and you see what's out here.
Yeah. This one, you press the little display button under there and you can actually see what's going through the lens.
Now that's how a point and shoot works, but SLRs don't work that way. So if you prefer looking at the SLR to the viewfinder, this is through the lens. This is what picture's going to look like.
That is through the lens, so you're seeing exactly.
How do they do that? Do they have a little camera in there?
It's a special sensor in there essentially, and they're splitting the image.
Wow. So it's pretty fast. It's not as fast as a direct image would be, but it's pretty fast. Do you prefer one or the other? The viewfinder or the...
I still prefer the viewfinder. That's the way I go. I think it's a little bit of a gimmick still.
How much is this?
It's $17.99 for the body only, unfortunately. Okay. But, I mean, that's what you're getting into with prosumer. The lenses will add extra. You can use all the old lenses from the E1 and the old eVolt series, any of those old 4/3 lenses.
It's comparable to, say, the D300, which everybody's raving about, the Nikon D300.
Right.
Or even, for a little bit more, the 5D from Canon. So pros and cons.
Well, the things we mentioned as well, including a self-cleaning sensor like like they had in the original.
Yeah, that's one thing they've done really well, yeah.
And we didn't show it, but there is an articulated viewfinder here, so you can actually take it out. That's the LCD screen on the back, so you can actually shoot backwards.
Oh, just what I wanted.
So there you go. The one thing I don't like is there's no mode dial on this, so you have to do it through a button press.
Pro shooter's not going to like that.
Pro shooter is going to absolutely hate that, but Ray Maxwell is around, so we'll have him take this out and see what he likes about it. It is pretty expensive if you're looking at the low-end consumer level cameras, and all the accessories and lenses are a little bit more pricey than the alternative.
The new Olympus E3. It's a crowded, competitive field. Olympus is trying to stay alive in this SLR field, and so far Canon and Nikon really are dominating, but we'll see what they can do.
It's a beautiful camera. I do give it full marks for its shooting capabilities, but there's just those little quirks.
Get us like the Sony one, too, because this new Sony looks intriguing, too. They're all trying to get into this higher-end camera field. Thank you, Sean. Coming up, more of your calls just a little bit, and Ray Maxwell is going to do a review of, I think, one of the ultimate Photoshop plugins. This thing is amazing, and it ought to be for the price. Right now, though, a close-up of something. See, Sean does these close-ups, so we never know what that is. It's something you'd find around the lab. Do you have any idea? We'll zoom out to find out when the lab continues right after this. What the heck is that? I don't know. It looks like a hypodermic. What is that? Oh, of course, it's an Alco Hawk. Oh, I know what that is. That's the breathalyzer. That's the little personal breathalyzer. So that's what you breathe. That was the tube you breathe into. I don't recognize that. I never saw it before, honest. I finally figured out, by the way, where that red came from. I just learned that a little later on, Warren's going to do a segment on refilling your inkjet cartridges, and there's magenta everywhere. Everywhere. Ray Maxwell, the man who taught me magenta is not a real color. That looks like a real color to me, but
that's true. It's faking you out.
Ray is a color scientist, a photographer, a raconteur. He tells great stories. He's a historian, a pilot, and today he's going to show us a little plug-in for Photoshop that's just taken the world by storm. It's called Color Effects from Nik Software.
Right.
And I got a review copy, and I've just been playing with it like crazy, but we thought, this is the guy. This is the guy who should review it, because he's a color expert. So, first of all, what does it do?
All kinds of things. There's
everything.
52 filters built into this thing. And it's great fun. Let me say that right off the bat. You can play with this. You can kill more time with this than, you ever imagined. Let's jump into it, and I'll show you some of the fun things. Now, I've got a picture here. This was shot over on Salt Spring Island. This happens to be Mount Maxwell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's your family's mountain, is it?
Well, I don't know. It was a couple of brothers, they said, cleared the land there.
Okay.
At any rate, so this is the picture before, normal.
It's a beautiful picture.
Picture, and I'll click preview, and I've selected a filter called Old Photo.
Looks like the Ansel Adams photo.
Yeah, and instantaneously we get this old effect, and under Old Photo, I can go through different colors.
Oh, so you do have more control than just picking a preset. Oh.
Now I'm going to jump through all of these. Now these are all, quote, Old Photo, but they're different colorations of Old Photo.
Right, that's neat.
And, I kind of am partial to this one up here. But at any rate, after you select that, you can then go in and adjust the amount of grain and the brightness. You can brighten it up, darken it up, whatever. But you can play. I mean, it's almost infinite what you can do.
Now, these are the things I guess you could probably do by hand if you knew what you were doing in Photoshop.
Exactly. I was going to say that is one of the things about these filters, the majority of the filters. You can do these things in Photoshop, but it's a multi-step process.
Right.
It's much quicker, faster, easier.
For somebody like me who's not a Photoshop whiz, this is a nice tool because it gives me some basics that I would not know how to get to in many cases.
Also, some of them that are multi-step processes, like 4 processes, are you going to guess what those processes,
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Where this, you can just play what if, zip through it, and immediately, see what's going on. Now, let me tell you some of the things I don't like about it. Okay. Number one, it's priced like Vista.
It's very, well, there's 3 different versions, aren't there?
15 filters, $99.95. 35 filters, $169.95. And if you want all 52, it's $299.95.
$300 is a lot for a plug-in.
And this is the thing. I say, Photoshop is $649.
Right.
And you get about 70 filters in it.
Right.
And you get Bridge, and you get Adobe Camera Raw, and all the other stuff.
But on the other hand, if you're a pro photographer or somebody who's doing this a lot, to have these, it might save you time, might save you money.
Exactly.
It might be worth worth your while.
Right.
You'd have to judge whether it's worth your $300.
Exactly. So let's play with a few others. I'm going to jump down here to solarization. And
that's a cool effect.
Isn't that a wild effect?
Yeah.
And now let me step through some of the colors in it.
The problem with a lot of these is you look at them, you immediately know that these have been, played with. They're not, they're kind of...
They're really exotic.
Yeah.
And far out,
I like the ones that are a little more subtle like that, where it could have been a monochrome shot, could have been a black and white shot.
Right, exactly.
And then people go, wow, that's neat. Are you shooting ASA 400 black and white film? What are you,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to go down to something a little more conventional, and that's just a straight vignette here.
And what's that doing?
Well, we'll just bring it up.
Oh, I see.
And now I'm going to open up the size here.
All right.
And then you can go from a round to an oval. Okay, you can adjust the edges, the opacity. You can play with these.
Great for wedding photos.
Yeah. And portraits and that sort of thing.
Right. Now, Lightroom and Bridge have these techniques as well.
Yes, exactly. And then I'm going to go to another one, which is a variation on this one called Vignette Blur. And again, I can adjust the size. But all it does is blur the edges rather than blank them out. Okay.
These are artistic effects that are often used by pro photographers. Yeah.
And then you wanted a strange film look. Let's go to infrared film.
Ooh.
Okay. And again, there's all kinds of variations. I'm going to go to some of the color ones.
Ooh, pretty.
But again, if you're doing...
How much use are you going to have for that?
Yeah, how often are we going to use these kinds of things?
There are some practical ones. There's a flesh enhancer.
Yeah.
Now, did you play with that at all? Because I'm curious as to how valuable that would be.
I tend to use Smart Sharpen in the... for a similar effect.
Right.
Okay. And inside Photoshop.
So you may not really need that.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, the one that I thought was quite interesting in this is the film effects, because people are always asking me, they're saying, Ray, now let me click this off a second. This is the before picture.
Okay, this is pretty subtle.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
But people are always saying, hey, Ray, I want it to look like Kodachrome. I want it to look like Ektachrome or whatever. So I'm going to turn that on, and right now, this is AGFA. And now I'm going to slide down and pick one of the Fujis. Little different looks. See the greens come up.
Oh, this is interesting. So you're actually saying this is what the film, if you shot it with different film, what it would have looked like.
Now this is Kodachrome 200.
In your experience, because I know you've probably used all of these films, is this pretty accurate?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Pretty good. But
it's like a caricature.
But again, you can go through and kind of pick and choose what you like. Now, let me go from Kodachrome to Ektachrome, and you'll see the greens go dark. And stronger.
Yep.
Now a lot of people ask for that. Now the only thing
is a good looking shot when you do that, I have to say. It's good looking to begin with. But.
Exactly. When people ask me for these old effects, there are times when those are appropriate. But what I always say is, hey guys, with Adobe Camera Raw and Photoshop, come up with a new effect. Don't get stuck in the old world forever.
So your recommendation is?
It's great to play with.
Fun toy.
Fun toy, does lots of things, has lots of adjustments. You can, spend hours with it. I think it's a little pricey.
Right.
I'd rather see, if they came out with 52 for $100 a quarter, 150, that's below my threshold of paying. 300.
Right. All right, there you have it. Ray Maxwell, his review of Color Effects 3.0. Now, we're going to talk about colors in just a bit. Just two of them, red versus blue. We're not talking about the U.S. presidential elections. We're talking about Machinima, an amazing use of game engines to create video. Rooster Teeth joins us in just a bit. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. Look at another caller. Brianna, who do you have for me?
I have Rhonda, and she's from Vauxhall, Alberta.
Hello, Rhonda. How are you today?
Great, Leo. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What can I do for you?
I have a question on virtual investing software.
Okay.
I would like to learn how to invest by using virtual investing.
Great idea.
And I would like to, if you could, suggest a website to practice this without using real money.
I think this is brilliant because so many people think, oh, I know exactly how, I've got a stock, I'm going to make money, and then they put real money into it and they find out, it's not quite the way I thought it was. Whereas if you have a plan, if you have a thought, a system, a scheme to make money in the stock market, try it out in a virtual stock exchange first. And you'll find out if it works. The one I recommend absolutely is VSE. This is MarketWatch does this. Now, MarketWatch is a great organization, the financial news organization. I think CBS owns them now. I can't remember who owns them. They keep getting sold back and forth. But they've been doing this one for a long time. You can create a game, set a cash balance, test your strategy. It is a really nice site, and it's absolutely free, very easy to use. And I think this is one of the oldest and probably one of the best. VSE.marketwatch.com. There are a lot of them. I mean, I can go on and on. I've got links to a half dozen of them. Investopedia is a great site where you can learn about investment. It's an educational site, Investopedia.com, from Forbes, and they have their own stock simulator as well. And there are even stock simulators like the Hollywood Stock Exchange where you can bet on celebrities and movies and so forth. That's kind of fun. But if you're really serious about making money in the market, I would, for instance, get my kids to do this early on before they start even thinking about buying stocks. You'll get some real world bumps and bruises before you actually spend your real money.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
It's a great idea. And do you have an investment club, Rhonda?
No, not at all. I'm just curious about it, so I thought I'd do it this road instead of putting money into it.
Yeah, great idea. VSE is excellent from MarketWatch. Investopedia's simulator from Forbes. These are two big financial journalism giants, so you know you're getting a good quality product from them.
Okay, well, thanks for your help.
Thanks for the call, Rhonda. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to check back in with Mark Yuasa in a little bit to see how he's doing on our web workshop. And coming up next, I'm really excited about meeting the guys behind Red versus Blue. It's not often you invent a whole new medium. They did, and we'll find out more about that in just a bit. Right now, though, it's time for our quick quiz question of the day. We were talking about digital single lens reflex cameras. When was the first 35 millimeter? That's key, by the way. SLR introduced. Was it 63, 45, 36, or 1889? Think about it. We'll talk about it when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. We have a veritable internet superstar on the show next. From Austin, Texas, Burnie Burns is here. You may know him from his project, Red versus Blue. Burnie, it's great to talk to you.
Leo, it's great for you to have me. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to talk to you for years. Now, I was just reading your bio. Your history is kind of interesting. You were a student at U of T. And you put up a low power TV station.
Yeah, I was at the University of Texas, and because Austin is the capital of Texas, there was a lot of initiatives for the university to have cool technology, and one of those things was a low wattage broadcast license.
How cool!
And so we took advantage of that and set up a student-run television station, and it was the first 24-hour all student-run television station.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that gave you the bug.
Yeah, I was a computer science student, and I was actually pre-med to start with and then switched to computer science in my senior year. This was just as the internet was getting big, and so I found out I had to use stuff like organic chemistry for electives, and I had nothing left to take, and so I found myself on campus for only 6 hours for classes, and then I had to fill up my time with something else.
Right.
And I didn't want to get a job. So.
Did you ever work in mainstream media after that, or did you stay with the internet the whole time?
No, I never really had the chance. I made a movie. This was after Robert Rodriguez. He went to the University of Texas as well.
Right.
He made El Mariachi, and so there was a huge amount of energy on campus that anybody could spend, $9,000 on a movie and set Hollywood on fire. And so I got together with some buddies, and instead of taking film classes, I just decided to make a 16-millimeter feature. It took about a year. But by the time we were done with it, we just started working on other stuff for the internet, and it just took off from there. When did
you have the idea to start using video game footage instead of real video footage?
Well, a couple of the guys that I worked on the movie with went off to Hollywood. A buddy of mine, Matt, went off to work in visual effects.
Right.
And another one of my friends went off as an actor to make it in Hollywood as an actor. And so I was in Austin working a tech job, and didn't really have access to lots of people who had any production experience. So was playing video games all the time, and was writing for this really funny video game review site called Drunk Gamers. And I was the Xbox guy, and it was the first year the Xbox came out, so all anyone ever cared about was Halo. And so I was just working in Halo all the time and trying to do cool new stuff in Halo to make it funny and interesting and promote it. And just came up with the idea for Red versus Blue one day.
Let me show people so they understand if they haven't seen it. This is a little bit of Red versus Blue. you're using actual video game footage, but you've written. It's fortunate you don't see the people's faces, so you can write text for them.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, the first couple of pieces that we did just to explain the concept to people. You know, we said we want to take dialogue and put it over the top of video game footage and use the video game characters not to play the game, but to act out these little skits. And, you know, once you can see it, it makes perfect sense. But try to explain it to people, you know, sometimes it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around until you actually sit down and watch one of the videos. And then you're like, oh, yeah, this totally makes sense.
It's very funny. I mean, you know, as always is the case, writing is key to everything. But what you've done here, which is neat, is, you know, you've got the writing. You still have to put the hard work in writing. But instead of having a set and a crew and camera operators and actors, well, I guess you still have actors, but the actors are you and your partners.
Or in the case of animation, we don't need animators.
Right.
You know, the room full of 80 people to work for a year and a half, you know, to make a movie.
So you're Church, Vic, and Lopez, we should say, in Red vs. Blue.
Right, right.
And you do another one called The Strangerhood, and you're Griggs and Tovar in that.
Right. We did a couple of different ones over the years. Red vs. Blue is by far the most popular one.
Oh, yeah.
But we've done ones in The Sims. That was The Strangerhood. We did one in Fear that was called Panics. So we've worked on a lot of different stuff, but we've stuck with Halo and Red vs. Blue because it's just been so popular for us.
Well, and there's a real irony and a humor in these guys in these, you know, armor with the guns and the things they say. I mean, it's really fun that way. It plays off of, you know, the silliness of the situation, I guess.
And that's kind of how it started. You know, these video games, they have these huge, epic multiplayer.
They're so serious about everything.
What's that?
They're so serious.
Yeah, right. Well, you got to think, like, what would these guys, if these guys actually had a life when the video game was turned off, what would it be? You know, they'd have to kill time like most military guys. They'd just hang around the base, and what would they do?
Now, how hard is it? I mean, I'll go back through this video that we just showed this little clip of. Some of it, obviously, you're modifying later. For instance, that list that says meatball sandwiches, grinder, hoagie stuff. That's not in Halo. You obviously put that in later.
Yeah, there's no meatball subs in Halo. Yeah.
But a lot of this is Halo. I mean, you do have to have the characters do stuff. For instance, this big, massive explosion here. So how hard are these sequences to create?
Well, a lot of it, you know, the video game takes care of everything. That's the cool part about machinima, which is what all this is called.
Right.
The art of using video games to make little movies. And, you know, the video game handles the lighting. It handles the sound effects. It handles everything that you would have a staff of people working for months to do. I mean, it handles it on the fly and in real time.
That's kind of an inspired idea. Now, I think you, as far as I know, you were the first machinima I ever saw. You created this concept, didn't you?
No, actually, machinima's been around since the Doom and Quake days.
Really?
Yeah, Quake was some of the first stuff. And actually, we weren't even the first people to do Halo machinima. But I think once Red vs. Blue kind of crossed over, you know, into that territory where it was just one of those things that people watch on the internet, that's when the whole thing kind of took off.
Yeah, and now there are lots of people using this to do this. I think Red vs. Blue is still the best.
Well, thank you very much.
And I encourage people to check it out. It's RedVSBLU. Well, there it is on the screen, redversusblue.com. And how many of these are there? I mean, you've created a lot now.
Well, we did one arcing storyline that was 100 episodes. It's over 5.5 hours over the course of 5 years. But there's about 250 videos altogether.
Wow. And how long does it take to do one?
We do about 5 minutes a week when we're in the middle of a season, and that takes, a full 40 hours at least to do 5 minutes.
Do you have any temptation at this point to go mainstream, or is this enough for you?
Well, you know, the flip side of all this, too, is we've discovered on the business side of distributing things on the internet, even if we go into, like, live action or other types of, like, standard animation, we would still stick on the internet.
Yep, I agree with you. That's where the future is.
Absolutely.
Why go with a dying industry when you can go with a new thing?
You know, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I see a lot of people who are hitting it big in video on the net right now, and it seems like now it's like a farm system for Hollywood.
It ain't!
Yeah, I know. And in 10 years, they're going to be looking back and wondering, you know, we're at a distinct point in history, and they're going to wonder, wow, you know, the opportunities that we had right now to do video and film on the net.
Right.
And they're not going to come again.
Yeah, don't get in the buggy whip business. It's kind of it's gone, it's over. I completely agree with you. I've actually said that many times. Don't see new media as a path to old media. New media as a path to new media, and that's where it's such exciting stuff like Red vs. Blue is happening. It's been so great to talk to you. I really appreciate it, Burnie. You're a pioneer, and you're creating great content online using really interesting tools, and obviously having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, thanks, Leo. It's been an honor to talk to you.
Burnie Burns. Burns, redversusblue.com. Rooster Teeth is the company. Take care, Burnie.
You too, Leo.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Oh, that's exciting. Isn't it neat to see what people are doing with tools you wouldn't even expect? All right, we're going to take a break right now, though. One more chance to take our quick quiz question of the day. When was the first 35mm SLR introduced? They had wider format SLRs, I'm sure, before that. 63, 45, 36, 89? You tell me. We'll talk about it later. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we asked you when the first 35mm SLR was introduced. Let me guess, 63. 36, okay. But wasn't the Hasselblad the first SLR, and that was a medium format camera? The what? Exacta. Okay, no. The what? Who made it? Kinda?
Yeah, it's a lot of.
All right. He's not mic'd, so he's just going, and nobody's hearing what he's saying, so we'll just make fun of him. Let's take another call. What do you say, Brianna?
Oh, man, that's not nice. The next caller is Miles, and he's from Edmonton, Alberta.
Hello, Miles. How are you today?
I'm good, Leo. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. What can I do for you?
Well, it's a little bit of an issue with Vista.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
An issue with Vista. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I started out using Vista Home Premium.
Okay.
And then after a year, I decided, well, maybe they've got their issues sorted out, and I upgraded to Ultimate. Lo and behold, it won't recognize any of my external drives.
But the Home Premium did?
Yes.
So you had drives, they're external, whether FireWire or USB?
USB.
Okay. And then you upgraded to Ultimate using the built-in upgrade?
Yep.
And all of a sudden your drives don't work anymore?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's not Ultimate, but all Ultimate is Home Premium with extra stuff tacked on the side. It's not a different version of Windows.
I didn't think so.
No. The kernel's the same. They just added some features. And this shouldn't happen, but it does, right? It's one of those things where, it's not supposed to happen. And I'm sure if you call Microsoft, that's exactly their reaction. Well, that's not supposed to happen.
Lots of that.
So a couple of things I would try before I would reinstall, which is probably, what Microsoft would tell you to do. First thing I would do is I would delete the USB root hub entries in the device manager. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Have you tried that yet?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. It's the first thing you try. USB, is a little funky, and what you're doing when you go to the device manager, it's a list of all your hardware in there, and by deleting an entry for a kind of hardware, in this case, kind of deleting by deleting the root hub, you basically delete all USB stuff. Then rebooting, you tell Windows, this is not working quite right. Let's restart. And now what it doesn't do is reinstall drivers. Because the drivers are the same drivers that you were using before, and if there's something bad about them, you'll still have that problem. But it is a good first step to kind of saying, well, maybe they're installed improperly, or they just kind of got messed up. Do you see in the device manager exclamation marks or X's or anything like that?
Well, just on the, it actually does try to recognize the external. There's an exclamation mark.
It's an exclamation mark.
It won't find the driver.
Yeah, and it doesn't need a driver. It's a USB device. It's a standard, what they call mass storage class device. And all versions of XP even, come with the driver for a USB mass storage class device. So that's not it.
No, it just keeps looking and saying, well, there's no driver here. Anywhere in.
Well, but it isn't a driver. So what it means is that the USB mass storage class driver is probably damaged. I hate to. Well, let me just show folks. I'm an XP. I don't have Vista running on this machine, but I have XP on it. We should get some Vista on here. But this is what it looks basically the same. Here's the USB root hub. And you see, all these devices are working all right. We don't have a yellow exclamation mark or a red X next to them. Yellow exclamation mark says, well, it's just not starting up. It's not working right. You might look in your services. This is another thing you can do is to right-click on My Computer and select Manage. And that's going to pull up the computer management console, and you'll see that you have a services section. You might check to see if the services needed for the mass storage class are running. You can see which services are started under the status bar here. I'm not sure exactly which ones you'd want to, wouldn't be, but I would go through here and look for, there's all sorts of stuff that should be running, and maybe something isn't running. Ultimately, you know what you end up doing? It's reinstalling Vista. The reason this happened during the upgrade is undoubtedly during the download, because you download the ultimate pieces. Something got damaged on download, or it got written to the drive wrong, or a cosmic ray particle hit the hard drive just at the right spot and damaged it. You flip one bit in some of these programs, if it's the right bit, it'll stop working. So something somewhere corrupted the driver that you need. You can download, and you could go on the net and look for a Vista mass storage class driver and try downloading it. Microsoft offers it. A number of other places can offer it as well. See if that fixes it. That's what it's called. That's the driver that you need. But I think in the long run, for reliability, you're probably going to end up wanting to reinstall. I hate to say that.
I know.
I know too. But if you go to the Google will tell you, if you search for Vista mass storage class, USB mass storage class, you'll find a driver, and there's lots of companies make them.
Okay, super.
All right.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Give it a shot anyway. Thank you, Miles. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye now.
All right, we're going to talk more about Machinima, because Ryan Ewell is here. Now, you seem like, because you're a video game guy, you probably were really into Machinima early on.
Red versus Blue, I didn't even know what Machinima was. Saw Red versus Blue, still didn't know that was Machinima, just thought it was some guys being creative.
Right.
And then years later, I hear there's a whole
genre.
Yeah.
Red versus Blue is amazing.
It's like the best of the best that I've seen.
It is really, really good. And you know what? It's all writing. It's all about the writing.
Writing.
The writers are the king.
So this is just a YouTube channel that's from machinima.com, and I thought if people want to see some other Machinima, you can go to YouTube. This one is Portal, a day in the life of the turret here, so you can see basically...
Wait till you get incinerated.
What are you talking about? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whoa, what's going on?
So essentially, these are characters. They're talking to each other. It's a day in the life.
So this is a whole channel?
It's a whole channel from machinima.com. So it doesn't have Red versus Blue on it, but it does have a lot of different
genres. It collects all the other people, or many of the other people who are doing
now this is definitely young kids kind of...
Okay, you're going to hear bad words. You're going to hear scatological
There's a lot
humor,
of bad words.
Bathroom humor.
So just be aware.
Yeah.
Kids shouldn't be watching this, I don't think. But
kids make it, but they shouldn't watch it.
Exactly.
It's a bunch of teenagers.
So it's the YouTube Machinima channel.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we have a link to that where?
On labwithleo.com.
Free files. Might.
There you go.
Yeah, lots of them, 190-something.
Yes.
It's amazing. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
All right. When we come back, we're going to take a look at how our web workshop is progressing. Mark's been working hard. You stay right here. Well, as you remember at the beginning of the show, we set a task for Mark Yuasa in our web workshop. He's from Rain City Studios, and he's been working on the page for, what is their name? The Peterborough Singers Pop Ensemble. Let's see what you did.
Sure. So
that's the original.
This is the original, and I moved some stuff around. Let's see what's
Oh, now that's pretty. Hey, we'll make that available to them. Nice job. Very beautiful. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Lab.